Thank you, and good morning. How are y'all doing today? I had a breakfast burrito out there, so if I start going to sleep, just gently nudge me, somebody. Well, they were delicious.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Robert, Red Daniel. It's not because I have red hair. It's like red like the shoes, but that's my initials, so you can easily remember that versus Robert. I work at the ATDC, which is not a rock band, but we do have some rock star founders there. We are an incubator here in the city of Atlanta, so I get an opportunity to talk with a lot of fintechs, talking about how we are transitioning into the future, and they're building some of those opportunities that are going to be the future opportunities that we will be using over the next 5-10 years. So it's pretty fantastic to be here this morning and really talk with this established a panel that's doing some of that and pushing us into the future. Some of the things that we'll be covering today as part of this transitioning into the future, we're going to be looking at open banking, embedded payments, AI, wallets, and how those kind of culminate together to leverage a better opportunity for the customer and that customer experience and journey. But before we get started, I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves and go into what they do.
Hey, I'm Shashank, CEO and co-founder of Backstage. We are a SaaS company for brands to engage with their customers, and we are modernizing the customer experience by creating software where you plug it into a website and you can go live and talk to your customers and engage them, because websites have not evolved in the last 20 years, and we are changing that.
I'm Brian Lanehart. I'm the president and co-founder of Moment. Moment is a point-of-need lender. So the use case is a home improvement merchant comes to your house to want to remodel your kitchen. How would you like to pay for it? We're the rails across which installment loans and real-time purchases and payments run. So we host a credit policy. We have multi-lenders on the back end to facilitate those payments and loans.
Hello, I'm Michael Reed. I'm the president of the B2B payments division at Deluxe. We recently opened an office here not too far, just up the road at Glen Ridge Connector. But the business unit that I'm responsible for is responsible for receivables and payables, primarily receivables automation and B2B disbursements.
Great. Thank you all for being up here today. So kind of kicking us off, if you were here yesterday morning having coffee, Todd was up here and he was talking about what is a payments company. He was talking about how more banking companies are getting into payments, how more traditional companies that haven't been considered fintechs or in the payments background, maybe it's a supply chain, maybe it's something else, they're embedding financial components, so they are now becoming a fintech. So we wanted to prime that out. That is really, truly the future of what is a fintech? How are we transitioning into these new companies? Embedded finance and open banking, and how that kind of that chain link creates new opportunities for, I guess, the vertical to become a horizontal. So Mike, I think we were chatting earlier this morning. You had some thoughts on that.
Well, a payments company at its core is really designed around the movement of money. Through the movement of that money, it affords those businesses opportunities to create value for end user customers, whether it's a merchant in a merchant services business where they're allowing for credit card payments online in-store through a mobile app, value-added services around fraud and security, technology, with visibility to the money movement. You can automate receivables, help a business visualize their cash position more easily so that they can better manage their business. And then obviously, money moves in and out. So it's not just the ability to receive money, but it's also the ability to make a payment. So, obviously banks play an important part of that ecosystem because money generally ends up in a bank account. There's obviously stored value accounts and other things, but those are all sponsored by banks as well. So the ecosystem and the synergy between banks and payments companies, which then evolved into software as service companies and value-added service companies that play in and around those ecosystems, it really takes all of us to participate the way that we do in that ecosystem. And there isn't any one of us that can anymore provide an end-to-end solution for a consumer or a business. You want me to say more?
No, I think that's fantastic. Brian, I think you're kind of coming from that embedded finance capability. I'd love to hear your experience and how you're kind of tying into some of these traditional businesses and allowing them to kind of expand their offering.
Right, that was one of the differentiators that we wanted to use at Moment, was embedding the payments into a financial platform that is then embedded into other platforms. So it sounds like a constellation of embeddings, but in order for consumer lending at the point of need to be really facilitated on behalf of our merchants and our consumers, we had to embed payments into the platform. So a consumer gets a loan, we know that there's a credit limit held on behalf of that consumer at a lending institution. The merchant facilitates a payment transaction from that consumer. Because the payments engine is embedded in our platform, we facilitate the payment from the lender to the merchant. And by doing so, it makes the platform more powerful because we can also do complex payments orchestrations. So in the case of a dentist office or a home improvement merchant, there's a contractor, there's often a supplier and a distributor that's part of that purchase, that project. So when the merchants and the sponsors and manufacturers distributors are part of that transaction chain, so by embedding the payments, by having the orchestration embedded in the platform, we can split that payment one-to-n ways. So the distributor's not chasing the merchant, the supplier's not chasing the distributor, the merchant's not chasing the supplier or the distributor. Everyone gets paid in real time at the same time. And that's a really powerful competitive differentiator for a moment, so that we can kind of eat up the food chain, so to speak, on larger merchant networks. Because that payment velocity, that cash flow velocity, like he was saying, is really important for those businesses to stay afloat and really grow. So being able to embed those payments into a platform like Moment, point of need, and then embed our entire platform into other ERPs or CRMs, it becomes completely turnkey.
Seamless in effect.
Very.
And Shashank, you're always doing something that's seamless, and you have the customer experience kind of tied in with video opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, like, as you said, like embedded stuff over there, like what we believe and what we think is like every solution and every flow has to be driven by like, are we making it easier for customers or not? Where are the points where customers are facing issues? Like, last thing you want in your ecosystem is like, people like your product, they are going through the thing and then they fail at the payment stuff. And it could be anything, like if they are buy now, pay later, it could be just using your credit card or anything, wallets to make the payment. You want to make it more and more seamless and make it from the customer point of view. What we do at Backstage is like we enable video, we take video and augment that video conversation by AI and put the human touch also over there, depending on what kind of products you're selling. So imagine you're buying a high-end product on a website. You go, you choose your purse, which is $5,000 worth, let's say, and you're in the payment system and something happens and you're confused about it. So we pop up a small video where you can actually talk to a representative and get your confusion out there and complete the transaction. So that's the customer experience that we are talking about. But overall, your strategy should be driven by whether we are making it easier for customers to complete the purchase or not.
So I think hearing all of the stories this morning, that customer journey is a lot more seamless. Whether you're having a payments or a banking operation, it's blending into just normal operations. So a customer may not feel like they're doing some sort of banking operation or payments operation. It just becomes a natural flow of life. And I think we were talking about this earlier this morning. Data fits into that, into a big part. So the future is data, and as we push into these integrated and seamless experiences, how are we leveraging data?
Sure. So for Moment's case, because we can see all the purchases and payments to a given merchant, we're capturing insight onto their revenue stream. And as we add additional payment types for our merchants, for example, we're adding credit card processing. So between installment loans and credit card processing, that represents 90 to 95% in some cases of our merchants' income revenue stream. I can take that data, I can see how healthy that revenue stream is, I can also do checks on solvency for that merchant, and I can risk scale that merchant. Once I have that risk score and that insight on that merchant's behavior, their growth patterns, their growth trends, we can start layering on other financial services. So do you need an SMB loan? Do you need a line of credit? Do you need a specific insurance policy for a given project? But I can't really do that with intelligence customized, because there's a whole point about this that we were talking about earlier about the customization of the right service for the right person at the right time. That data drives that ability. And so by embedding the payments, you can see those revenue streams flow. You get a lot of insight on the behavior of your constituents or the members of that platform, and then be able to offer the right service at the right time, all because of the data flow of the transactions.
You know, there's also data opportunities there's obviously data opportunities to help help a business find its next customer, or but there's also a lot of opportunities to better manage data for a customer for their use. So if you think about cash application, whether you're a small business or the largest of companies, you're really wanting to understand how much cash you have and what your cash flow looks like. And so for a large company, they're getting a lot of money into their bank accounts from a variety of different sources. If you think about just credit cards, they may have multiple contracts to process credit cards from all the different ways in which credit cards can be processed. Whether they might have one company that's helping them with their call centers. They might have another company that's helping them with their online payments. They may have somebody even different that's helping them with their in-store payments. You take that and you multiply that out with the number of modalities that are out there, even now getting into real-time payments, potentially crypto, wallets, invoice presentment payments. All that money ends up in a bank account, and they have to apply those payments to actually, to recognize the cash and to use the cash. And so using data and machine learning and artificial intelligence together, you can match those payments more quickly and give them access to their cash more quickly. And for a smaller business, they just want to know what their flows look like over time. And they will obviously have ebbs and flows in their business. At some points in time, they'll have more cash than they need, and at other points in time, they'll have less cash. And bringing them visibility so that they can know, it's probably time for me to go talk to somebody about a line of credit. So that, and it's not going to hurt me to buy the line of credit because I can pay it back later, because I know that cyclically I'll have more money later. So we focus on both of those things. We have an entire data business that focuses on helping customers find their next customer, but we also have a business that's helping businesses better manage their internal data so that they have better visibility into their business and know how best to run their business and manage their cash.
Yep. I would like to add on the data side of things. Like, I have worked in advertising technology before. Like, I worked in Yahoo and Publicis, and we were completely data-driven on that side of things, where especially those annoying ads you see and they're tracking you all over. That was us. I played a role over there a little bit, but data became very, very important, and we have seen from last 10, 12 years, like, data is becoming so much more important, and especially with the new regulation like GDPR, CCPA, and multiple states are coming up with their own regulatory laws about it. You might be aware that Apple has stopped supporting third-party cookies on the privacy concern, and they have become kind of a privacy champion. That has become their marketing also. Like, they are talking about privacy, and privacy is directly proportional to the data they are collecting, somebody is collecting about you. So data is going to play a big role. Mind you that you have to now have the consented data from the users, and then you track them with their consent. And so what has happened in last few years is, like, every company is thinking about how the new age data is going to be coming and how you're going to capture that. And obviously, for the customer, they want to get the best experience and brands have to leverage the data to give them as he was saying, about right thing at the right moment, right content, right product at the right moment. And I'm just adding a little bit of customer experience stuff over there. And everyone gets frustrated when you call a call center talking to a customer service or somebody, and then you have to give everything about you, like who are you, what you have done, what problems you are facing. And in today's age, data can solve that problem. It should be right at the moment when I'm on a call. They should ask, oh, I saw that you were on the homepage, you were looking at this product, how can I help you with that? And as simple as that, because data is driving those things. And then now with the new age AI stuff, where you can feed that data into AI, that can give you the optimum answers and results about it. Like, this is what you should be talking to your customer. This is what you should be, like, suggested responses over there.
Yeah, so it really sounds like embedding payments and then adding the data gathering, data analysis services allows the businesses at least to be a little bit less tactical and more strategic, because you're providing the insight into their very own cash flows.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the benefit of embedded payments is when you have a longer data chain. So you have multiple different partners who have connected to this process. So you have data from other resources where you can leverage. I guess it's a double-edged sword, though, because you have other data that you either have to clean and understand, or maybe you don't necessarily want to touch that data sometimes because of risk or regulatory challenges with that over time. But it gives you a longer stream to be able to pull from and be able to tap into and leverage in AI models, ML models, or just your regular operations. Speaking of AI, and by the way, I don't want to hear groans. We're in the fintech space. We've been leveraging machine learning for a very long time. This is not ChatGPT. So let's talk about true AI and where the possibilities are.
ChatGPT is true AI.
It is, but it's also very consumer and it's new, and that's where people are like, I'm tired of hearing AI. It's kind of like e-commerce back in 2000 times now.
I think ultimately everything matters is am I giving the good experience to the customers or not? And ChatGPT you can leverage in your data, in your customer journey where it can fit in and show the right content at the right time. So if you can feed that data and get the right responses, for example, on the customer journey, I come to the homepage, I'm exploring 4 or 5 products over there. How much time I have spent on a particular product, what's my interest level, everything can be determined by data and the pattern of how consumer are behaving and what turns to add to cart, what turns to ultimately check out and purchase. All those behaviors can be actually fed into an AI and you can know how to optimize that experience and show the right product at the right time.
Yeah, we use it more for risk modeling as opposed to the payments, because we're looking for significant risky behaviors of merchants and consumers over large swaths of time. And in some cases, we'll actually price the merchants according to the risk, and the risk is going up and down over time as the cost of funds fluctuates. It's too much for one person or even a small finance FP&A department to really price accurately over large swaths of time with large amounts of data. If we don't use AI and ML, we can't. There's no way I can price it at the right point at the right time. I'm either overpriced or way underpriced. So by gathering all the transactional data, looking at all the risk, looking at all the behaviors over time by industry segments is the only way to do it.
I think it's an evolution just like anything else. Machine learning, artificial intelligence are foundational to a lot of products that we all offer. Today, if you can see a pattern or recognize a pattern and write a rule that tells a system to apply this logic when you see this pattern, that's step one. Step two is then let the system, the system can learn what's happening and tell you what pattern it's seeing so that it can adjust. And then there's this concept now of deep learning where, you're taking other trends and other things and trying to get to that next level of intelligence so that you can predict and do other and more things with it. Obviously, artificial intelligence and machine learning are core components to our ability to help businesses, particularly complex businesses, apply payments and get access to that cash faster. It'll be interesting to see where deep learning goes. I personally believe that the use cases in deep learning that'll be most relevant to this space are probably in fraud and security. Obviously, fraudsters are going to start using whatever tools they have to get smarter and to come at us harder. And so, I've seen some pretty compelling things from security companies on how they're using deep learning to evolve and standardize fraud tools to make it a safer and more robust ecosystem. So, I'm pretty interested in those personally. We obviously all run payments businesses or involved in payments businesses. We have to be secure. There has to, that trust and confidence has to happen first.
Right. And so from the Moment perspective, part of that follow through isn't just looking at for risk analytics. It's also what consumer experience am I bubbling up to the merchant or the consumer based on the risk profile, based on the AI and ML, so that I'm encouraging or discouraging healthy or unhealthy behavior. It's not just about this person's risky, yes or no. It's about, I know you're risky, you're on a risky path, how do I guide you into a more healthy behavior? So I feel like so many people in the AI and ML space are just looking at it for risk. I just want to reduce risk, I want to eliminate risk. And you're never going to eliminate risk, but if you bubble that up through the consumer experience or the user experience, you can help guide them in and out of those more risky behaviors.
Yeah, I mean, in the customer experience side, you can leverage AI to actually know your customer better in a way that with their patterns you can predict what they're going to buy, how much they're going to spend, what the customer lifetime value could be, and based on that, you can give them much better experience. If somebody is ready to spend thousands of dollars on your website, I always compare with like when you're talking about digital commerce, when you go to a store, there is always somebody to help you out there in purchasing behavior and stuff. Like that's missing in the online world. You're on your own. You're seeing products, description. It's just like a directory of things, and you are on your own to figure out what you want to buy and everything. But AI can change that thing and almost give like a close to in-store purchase behavior, purchase experience there. You can see the right product at the right time and purchase it and get a much better experience.
So the end result is a more customized experience.
Yeah, 100%. Personalization is the key.
And almost a customized experience internally for a lot of our companies, because it's not just the external customers, but it's the internal customers. So those people who are doing the contact center or running payments processing, thinking about Christina over here, we did a whole thesis on the need for how is Fed now transitioning into these RTP, real-time payments. You almost need an AI component to go into the backside, as people are still batch processing, still very manual, still prone to errors, especially when payments can just disappear. You need an AI integration that will allow a more efficient, faster, and accurate processing of that information, which creates a better customer experience for your employees, because now they can focus on things that are less menial and more impactful to the company.
Yeah, we talk a lot about paying a human to be a human and a machine to be a machine. I don't want a human to have to copy and paste data and do some analysis when the computer can do it. So to your point, it allows our internal folks at Moment to be really focused on those personal relationships with our end users.
I think this this concept of real time, we all know in this room, but most people don't appreciate that despite the ability for us to make it look like things are all happening real time through the conditioning of credit card acceptance at a point of sale, that then the money kind of seems to not be in the account anymore. Behind the scenes, everything is still batch. Everything is batch. Everything is moving information around. Most of the systems are legacy systems. So, getting real-time payments into the U.S. ecosystem is going to be a fairly significant lift, because all the things that we do in batch have to now occur real time. And so, I think that it's just going to take a lot of work for us to together get it. Moving the money is really not that hard in the grand scheme of things. It's all the things that have to go around moving the money. And how long did it take for the credit card ecosystem to get where it is, where consumers feel really good about it, merchants know what to expect, banks know what to expect, everyone knows commerce can happen. It took a little while for all of that to come together. I think with real-time payments, we just need to be a bit patient. There'll be some real use cases that'll come out of it that'll be pretty interesting. But the moving of the money is the first step, maybe to make sure that you can that you can transact, but it's everything else around it that has to change, and we all appreciate that, but I just don't think the average person really appreciates that.
Yeah, there's a lot of complexity in the back end, to your point, and so we focus a lot of time on making it as simple and as clear for the users, and abstract all that complexity so they don't have to worry about it, because there is still a lot of complexity in the back end.
And that just brings more opportunity for that AI integration. I think back to what you said, Mike, is one of the things that scares me is the weaponization of AI and how fraudsters, they're trying to stay one step ahead of everything, and now AI gives them a new platform to scroll and scrape and find opportunities that we put out on social media or other mediums to become more knowledgeable about us, and then tap into traditional organizations leveraging AI to kind of breach those walls and make transactions happen. So that is a scary thing, and I think the other challenge is regulatory at the end of the day.
Well, I think if you asked the majority of people, they would say that a fraudster is some guy in a basement with a hoodie over his head trying to just get whatever, and there's certainly those out there, but these organizations that are coming at these types of industries, whether it's banking and payments, there's CEOs, there's CFOs, it's an entire organization that's working behind the scenes to come do these. And yes, those kinds of tools getting in their hands in ways ahead of us is a reality that I think every CISO and every organization is thinking about every day. And so we can't ignore these things. We have to stay relevant and ahead, and all of us are.
I mean, the fraudsters don't have to go through the bureaucracy of corporations, right? Like, if they want to do the fraud, they will do it. Actually, they don't have to take approvals from C-level executives or something. They see a tool, they will use it.
Yeah, and we're seeing a significant decline in the amount of single fraudsters acting alone. And now it's large-scale fraud networks that are attacking because it's a complex network. It's going to take a complex network to hack it. And so the sophistication is definitely increasing over time.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a few minutes left. Want to make sure that if there's questions in the audience, we have those covered. Are there any questions out there about us transitioning into the future? Not in a DeLorean, but in the payments world.
Yeah, has there been any change from a risk governance perspective internally as you start looking to introduce use cases with technologies? We talk about AI and machine learning has been around for a long time, but as we're looking to expand and maybe tap into different use cases for applying that technology internally, how are you covering from a risk perspective?
So from our side, because we're in the lending space, we're heavily regulated. And we knew from the start of the company that on the AI and ML, when we optimized credit policies, there had to be a human in the loop. And so we may have a neural network, which is called black box, if you guys aren't familiar with it. A regulator can't come in and go, let me open this black box and see how or why you made a credit decision. Mm-hmm. There's some companies that have attempted it. They've come under heavy regulation scrutiny, and some of them have been shut down. We knew that going into this. So we may have AI or ML optimizing a credit policy, but the credit policy it spits out is human readable, so that when a regulator comes in, they can look at the credit policy and go, I understand what and why. So that has been something that I think the industry, in some cases, is a little bit behind on, is knowing when and where you have to have a human in the loop. So for example, on the merchant underwriting side, it's not regulated. We can use black box and really complex models to understand merchant behavior, but on the consumer side, we cannot. And every time we do something in a credit policy, we know what most of us have been in underwriting for 10 or 15 years. We know what the hot topics are. No zip code, no gender, no race, things like that are blatantly obvious. But we look at that credit policy and go, anything that is even remotely politicized or remotely disadvantageous, pull it out of the model. Don't even feed it into the model because I don't want to know what the answer is, because a regulator is going to come in and say, this is questionable. And so part of it is just having the wisdom of being around the industry to know what data you can analyze and what data you cannot or should not analyze for an optimization of a risk policy.
Yeah, definitely. I think there has to be regulation around that, like what goes into the AI models, and we have all seen there was a lot of news about how GPT responses were very. It was sexist, it was racist. You can talk about it. They had their own biases, and that was the biggest challenge all these companies are facing, like Microsoft, OpenAI. They're all facing all these issues today, and they're still solving that. It's not been solved yet. Because what you feed, you don't even know how the AI models will actually take what and correlate. When we are talking about the patterns, when they're discovering patterns, you don't even know the patterns actually, because you let the machine find those patterns. And those patterns might not be pretty for us actually when that comes out, because because the data comes from the society, how we are behaving, what we are doing, and that feeds to the model. And that's the danger part of the AI, that it may accelerate, it may actually bring out those biases which has already been in the society, which is part of the data which gets fed in. So there has to be regulations about what goes into the model, especially in the regulated industry, in the payments and banking, where credit loans and everything. It's important for anybody's life. Actually, we cannot imagine living without a loan. Like when you're buying cars, you're buying home, renting, whatever it is. Like you need to have banking facilities, and if the models are biased, then it may a society may suffer because of that.
All right, I think we're just about out of time, but we're happy to take questions post this. Y'all have been fantastic. Thank you very much for listening. Again, remember, you've got open banking, the data that comes with that, AI integration, and how that impacts the customer. That's always been the focus of a payments company or a banking company, how we impact the customers' lives. And AI plus data has the opportunity to do that in a seamless manner and help us transition into the future. Thank you for, let's give a round of applause to this amazing panel up here. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.